Let's start tournament. Selection Sunday was yesterday.
Right.
Mississippi State. Let's start with the men's tournament. Selection Sunday was yesterday. Mississippi State makes it. They were almost not in the first four. But they were. And they get Pittsburgh late tomorrow night on True TV.
But by that same token, playing in the first four means you were almost not in the tournament.
That too.
And so it was obviously a much closer deal than I thought it was going to be going into last Friday. I thought once they beat Florida, they were snugly in, but that was not the case. And, we talked about chaos. There really wasn't any conference tournament chaos. The chalk held for the most part, but I'm just going to tell you right now, if UAB had beaten FAU yesterday, Mississippi State might not be in the tournament right now. I mean, it's a couple more upsets here and there, and it would have been a lot closer call than anybody in Starkville or Mississippi State fans would have wanted it to be. But all that aside, they are in, and they will play tomorrow night against Pittsburgh. We talked about it when they played Missouri, about a contrast of styles. Big contrast of styles between these two teams. Pittsburgh is a free shooting. They score, but they are not very good defensively. On the other hand, State stifles everybody they play, but they can't score a lot. And a familiar name on the Pittsburgh roster, Blake Henson, who played at Ole Miss and had maybe his best career game ever in the Humphrey Coliseum. Not that he should be a lottery pick or anything. Only a fool would suggest a thing like that. But a good player, and he's now their leading scorer for the Pitt Panthers. So this is a very interesting matchup for Mississippi State. If they can win this game, I might like them against Iowa State, a team that sort of,
Iowa State's a better matchup for them than Pittsburgh, which is weird because Iowa State's the better team and a better seed, obviously.
I agree with that. But they got to get past this one. It's going to be a very, very tough game for Mississippi State.
We'll get into that more, but just purely from a program perspective, this time last year, if I told you they make the tournament, regardless if they're in the first four or not, they're in. I saw
never would have believed
somebody doing this in a different market say the first four doesn't count. That's not true. It counts. They made it.
Not true.
They made the NCAA tournament. Being here, and we talked about this on Friday, when you were off, but it bears repeating. It's not like Chris Jans came in, Christoph Jans, and turned the roster over. He took the same guys, minus last year's best player, and made them a tournament team, largely. If you look at last year's stats and this year's stats, you're like, oh, that guy. And he made the tournament with them. It's a really encouraging thing, knowing that he was able to take the guys that got their coach fired and made them a tournament team a year later. That's big time.
And you feel like as he gets his guys in, and he got a big one today, that this team should continue to improve as they got to add scoring. Right, the defense will be there. He'll coach the effort. He'll coach the defensive stuff. They got to get guys who can make some shots, and once they get that, they have a chance to be a more regular participant in this beloved event. But yes, if you could go back to this time a year ago when we were talking about Ben Howland, being fired at Mississippi State, it would have been a really tall order to convince me that this team could make the NCAA tournament. I would have told you that being in the NIT would have been a really big win for this program. Yeah. Instead, year one, they're going to dance, and the program feels like it's on really solid foundation and feels like it's on it's been a really good place.
For sure. And then the matchup, you mentioned it. I looked last night. Pittsburgh is a team, I think, if I remember correctly, has 4 players that shoot 35% from three or better in their regular rotation. They shoot the ball, and they shoot it well. They average over 9 threes per game. But as you said, they're not exactly a stout defensive basketball team. But if you have one of those nights where they've got a couple of guys, one of their regular players shoots like 44% from three. If a couple of those guys are on, it's going to be hard for State to keep up.
They shoot 45% from the field as a team. They shoot 36% from the field, from three-point range as a team. If Mississippi State shot those numbers, they would have been the number 1 overall seed yesterday. I feel pretty confident in telling you that. Yeah. So, like I said, this is a real contrast in styles. And is State going to be able to sledgehammer this team into missing shots, or are they going to be able to, make those shots. And on the other side of the ball, Mississippi State, one of the worst offenses in the country, the worst three-point offense in the country.
So I learned that Friday,
team.
by the way. I knew it was the worst three-point shooting team in the SEC. I did not know it was the worst three-point shooting team in all of the United States of America.
That's correct. And that said, Pitt is a really bad defensive team. They give up a bunch of points. They give up about 74 points a game. So, I mean, when we say contrasting styles, it is on both sides of the court. And what's funny is, when Pitt has the ball, you got two of the nation's best. And when State has the ball, you got two of the nation's worst. This should be an outstanding basketball game. I don't know what's going to happen. I feel like the king in Robin Hood Men in Tights. We're either going to have a wedding or a hanging. Either way, we ought to have a good time, huh?
State, based on my research last night, is going to have an advantage with their best player versus, I'm not kidding. So Tolu is going up against a guy named Federico.
Federico.
That's his name, I swear. If you're out there thinking there's no way that's his name, that's his name.
I did an interview today with a Pittsburgh guy, and I was like, please tell me more about Federico. And I learned Federico was born in Egypt, but a Senegalese national, raised in Helsinki, Finland, and is now at Pitt.
Now in Pittsburgh.
What a story. I can't wait to learn more about this young man. And yes, he is going to be tasked with guarding Tolu Smith, which should be interesting because he's 6'11", only 220 pounds, though. So is he prepared for the physical pounding that Tolu Smith is going to deliver? State is going to have to be – State's usually the more physical team when they play games. They really need to be tomorrow because this Pitt team, I think they've got athletes, but that's where the State's going to have to make its money is by really pounding this team.
So, David asks, why do they ever shoot a three? Because at some point you have to. Just for spacing purposes, you have to.
Because they're open.
Yeah.
This is the one thing that I've been saying it all year, encourages me the most about Chris Jans, is that almost all of State's shots are within 3 feet of the bucket or an open three. They just don't make the open threes, and they don't really make enough of the 3-foot shots. But once they get better at that, this team is really going to take off. This program, I should say.
Yeah, but still an awesome step in the right direction. We're talking about the matchup. We will more tomorrow as well, hoping to have somebody that covers Pittsburgh on. It's a late tip-off. And people are going to do I don't know if I have true TV jokes. That drives me nuts. You have a remote.
It's been 10 years.
Turn on the television and go to your guide and see if you have it. And if you don't, it's on the CBS app. But, where's True TV? I don't know if I have it. As if, you don't know how to work your remote. It's simple.
You've watched Impractical Jokers.
Yes.
You know that you have.
I have it myself. I looked last night to make sure. I've got it. I don't have to download an app. I'm good.
Every major cable package, satellite package, you have it.
Yes.
They have it.
Yeah.
Because nobody is going to have a package that doesn't have the NCAA tournament on it.
Absolutely correct. But incredible accomplishment making the tournament in year one. Meaningful basketball is so much fun, and Chris Jans and his team delivered that this year, and at least one more time tomorrow night. But Scott